Good evening and welcome to the Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting for June 21st of 2022. The clerk will note that all council are present, and we'll begin this evening with an invocation from Pastor Martin of Grace Bible Church. Pastor, welcome. We look forward to hearing you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. If you would join me in a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you and ask you to be present with us at these proceedings tonight as the City Council of Coeur d'Alene gathers to conduct the business of this great city. Father, I pray that you would give them wisdom and discernment and understanding on all the matters that are going to come before them tonight. Lord, we recognize that you have instituted governments among men for our good. Lord, that the people that are in charge of our cities might be a blessing to us. And so, God, we thank you for these men and these women. We pray your strong hand of blessing upon them tonight. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. And Christy, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into public comment. Remind you that if you wish to make public comment, now's the time to sign up for that. And I see you're waiting for one more signatory. Please make sure your name and address, particularly your name, are legible so I don't botch it.
That's tempting.
Pastor, thank you for the prayer for wisdom. I can certainly use more of that. First person desiring to speak to the council tonight is Joel Sweeney. Joel? Good evening. Please share with us your name.
Good evening. Joel Sweeney. Hope everyone can hear me all right. Hello, everyone, mayor and council members. Just a little bit of a quick background on me. I don't believe in a god or gods, but that's just my own journey. I know many people in our community do, and many of those people also believe in an all-loving God, and I think that that is a wonderful thing that we can all aspire to. And since it's June, I just wanted to say that I wanted to take a moment to let members of the LGBTQIA plus community, I want to extend them my love. I want to let them know that they are valued members of the community, and even if they are in the closet or unsafe or feel unsafe being true to who they are, that they are valid. It's not a mental illness, it's not demons possessing the brain, it's not a sickness, it's just who you are. And if there is someone who made us up in the sky or whatever the case may be, they may do the way that you are. And I hope that our community continues to grow and continues to spread the love and the joy and acceptance to every members of the community. Also, as a quick note, I just wanted to put this on the list since I kind of care about the science and the data. Biological sex is what reproductive parts we have, but gender is brain goops. It's neurochemical processes. And so someone who was born who might have the anatomy of a man who thinks that they're a woman, I think that they are a woman by that definition. There's a lot of misinformation going around these days about all of that. You can actually do MRI scans in order to see that trans men are more like cis men than they are women. And that's all I really wanted to say. I hope we can all continue to love and support this great community. Thank you.
Justin O'Connell?
Oh, cool.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope you're all doing very well. Okay, so I wanted to congratulate actually the local government here for pulling off a fireworks display. I've read that community fireworks displays are being canceled all across the country actually for various reasons, labor shortages, also supply chain issues, I believe, for fireworks. And so I know that it's no easy task getting the community fireworks display off, and I know we're discussing the budget here. So now Anchorage has canceled theirs, Colorado has canceled a number of their fireworks displays as well. And I think that there might be an opportunity here in Coeur d'Alene to capitalize actually on the opportunity here. I think that as there are decreasing numbers of fireworks shows nationwide, the value of the sponsorship, the banner sponsorship of the local community fireworks show here might rise in value. And I actually believe you could get a sponsor for the fireworks show here yearly. I don't know who that sponsor might be. I do know that Amazon has opened a warehouse recently, so I can imagine something like Coeur d'Alene Community Fireworks Display presented by Amazon in the future. And generally, I'm not a proponent of free market solutions, but I do think here there is this window where we do have an opportunity. Now, I do also want to zoom out and kind of take in that there are fewer and fewer community fireworks displays, 4th of July is happening nationwide, and kind of consider and reflect here on how, we have this window here. We could possibly be one of the few remaining fireworks displays nationwide. And as we're phasing out 4th of July, I think that we'll also, be able to increase the sponsorship money, that dollars that we're able to bring in. So now, it is something to consider, though, that with fewer and fewer fireworks shows happening nationwide, I think that we can look to other communities as examples about how they're going about phasing out 4th of July ultimately. Now, La Jolla, California has canceled their fireworks display show because some sea lions live nearby. Now, we have a very similar situation here with a fireworks display show on the lake. There's lots of fish in the lake here, and we can only imagine how scared they get when the fireworks show is going off. Now, I believe that, like La Jolla, there might be an opportunity in the future to eliminate the community fireworks display and thus the budgetary concerns altogether, or question altogether, through that way. Now, I don't want people to think that I'm all work, no play. Now, October 28th every year is United Nations Day. I believe that might be something that we can celebrate with a cricket barbecue and also a light show. That's kind of becoming popular nationwide, is we can have a light show in replace of a fireworks show. So there's just some ideas, sponsorship to just eliminating 4th of July altogether. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Justin.
Kara Claridge. Is it Kara or Kara?
It's Kara.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. If I may, I'd like to start with my own word of prayer. Lord, I ask for your mercy on me as I deliver my message, and that ears would be open to the truth of your love, which is the only place we ultimately find significance and acceptance. Amen. Amen. So since the Pride in the Park event 10 days ago, I've been struggling to comprehend how our civic leaders just allowed a drag performance in our city park. I assume we agree people with alternative perspectives from our own should be allowed events in the park. However, this portion of the event did not appear to have been approved by the Parks and Recreation Director. His email response to me states, quote, "We approved concert music, food, craft, and informational booths," end quote. North Idaho Pride Alliance's website for the event started by saying, "Pride in the Park is a free, family-friendly community event. The drag dance party was advertised as starting at 1:45 p.m. I don't know what the disconnect is, but the promotional flyer, for which was posted far and wide about town, certainly advertised a drag dance party, not concert and music. I know citizens, including myself, brought this forward through public comments and emails before the event, with the hope of this aspect of the event being removed. But to my knowledge, nothing was done. You might be surprised how upsetting this was. I talked to lots of other moms in my circle, and this wasn't okay. In my opinion, this is damaging your trust with the community. This is not hate speech. I'm not a white supremacist. I'm a mom. Why was this not stopped? Isn't it funny how we go from this book in the children's library, The Hips on the Drag Queen Go Swish, 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 to the manifestation of the real thing in our city park? It's an obvious grooming scenario. And the videos and picture evidence brought forward are really damning at this point. How unmoored from common sense are we going to veer? If this kind of conduct doesn't come to a screeching halt, it will be more aggressive next year. Most Americans would likely agree that subjecting children to sexualized drag performance is inherently predatory. And by the way, I would feel the same way if we had women stripping for an event in the community park. This is patently offensive to the prevailing standards in the community. We can't do love is love for everything. It's a popular slogan, I know, but it's a permission slip for anything. What happens when it's a 40-year-old guy who loves a 7-year-old girl? At some point, you bump up against the law, at least hopefully. Though I obviously didn't take my own children to this, many youth were there. Again, as a mom, I believe this is damaging, if not dangerous, to children. Whether that be your own, or some 10-year-old kid on his bike that rode through the park and got the shock of his life that day. Perhaps you were hoping this would be swept under the rug and quickly forgotten. But I would respectfully submit to you, Mayor and Council, that a public apology and a commitment to not happening again would go a long way in restoring this breach of confidence with the parents and concerned citizens in Coeur d'Alene. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Cooper, please. Ben Cooper.
So 2 weeks ago, I asked this council to align itself with the values of Coeur d'Alene citizens. I did not ask this of law enforcement because their duty is to enforce the laws and rights of citizens regardless of their politics. Police Chief White on that day affirmed that sentiment and promised that law enforcement would enforce the law equally and that the First Amendment right to peacefully assemble would be protected for both groups. This did not happen. On Saturday's Pride event, Antifa gathered names and addresses of protesters for the purpose of targeted harassment while professionally paid pornography content creators groped their groins while 5 feet away from children. Not only did law enforcement that day not enforce public indecency statutes, but some took pictures of the posing artists while affirming their support. Meanwhile, at least 2 Christian preachers were expelled from the event, and one of whom was actually arrested. It was not violence which instigated this arrest, but constitutionally protected speech. Later in the day, Patriot Front was arrested before even assembling for conspiracy to riot. Conspiracy to riot is a pre-crime charge which is notorious for being challenged on constitutional grounds and is never applied to the left. Antifa and BLM are allowed to burn down city blocks, destroy property, and commit violence without ever incurring a conspiracy charge despite having a history of violence. In contrast, Patriot Front has a history of dozens of demonstrations in which no violence or destruction of property ever takes place. Every time they have a plan where they wave flags, give a speech, and then withdraw as soon as opposition is encountered. The one time they were detained during a demonstration was when attacked by Antifa and BLM in Philadelphia. And even in that case, law enforcement determined they could not be held as they had broken no laws. So why were Christian preachers and Patriot Front arrested for conspiracy to exercise their First Amendment rights in one of the most conservative counties in the country when the Constitution was better defended in Democrat-dominated Philadelphia? I can't speak for Chief White, but I do know Sheriff Norris, once an LA lieutenant, was funded by the leftist ADL to train in Israel with Mossad. But unlike Palestinians, Americans have a right to be protected by the Constitution. When the police start arresting citizens for exercising those rights, while at the same time zealously protecting the degenerate left, we have arrived at a state of anarcho-tyranny. Free citizens cannot and should not be arrested for their politics in order to protect the religion of liberalism, and that is what happened at the Pride event. In the future, I would ask that law enforcement enforce the rights and freedoms of all law-abiding citizens and refrain from the political persecution of the right. Thank you.
That's all we have signed up, so we'll move on to consent calendar.
I signed up.
No, you didn't. I've got the sheet right here.
She signed
We're
up
not
during-
going to hold the sheet forever.
Well, I was a couple minutes.
Cindy, Linda, sit down.
You don't want to hear what I have to say, that's fine, right?
Not tonight.
Well,
Do I, then do I, when somebody comes 10 minutes later, do I then let them?
it has been very common, you just don't want to hear what I have to say. And it's actually not me that's going to be speaking, I'm speaking on someone else's behalf.
You want to hear?
I do.
All right. Welcome, Linda.
I have a statement here from Billy, who's not able to be here tonight. Billy has a stage name of Kitty Demure, and he is a drag queen performer who has a message for parents and other adults. Quote, I have no idea what drag queens have ever done to make you have so much respect for them and admire them so much other than to put on makeup and jump on the floor, writhe around, and do sexual things on stage. I have absolutely no idea why you would want to influence your child, why you would want that to influence your child. Would you want a stripper or a porn star to influence your child? It makes no sense at all. A drag queen performs in a nightclub for adults. There's a lot of filth that goes on, a lot of sexual stuff that goes on, and backstage there's a lot of nudity, sex, and drugs. I don't think that is an avenue you would want your child to explore. They can explore dressing up at home like all gay boys did. We all dressed up at home and we had a great time. We had a great time with our girlfriends, putting on makeup, trying on clothes, things like that. But to actually get your kids involved in drag is extremely, extremely irresponsible on your part. And I understand you might want to look like you are with it, that you're cool, that you're woke, that you're not a Nazi, that you're not a homophobe, whatever it may be. But you can raise your child just to be a normal, regular, everyday child without including them in gay sexual things. And honestly, you're not doing the gay community any favors. In fact, you're hurting us. We already have a reputation of being pedophiles and being perverts and deviants. We don't need you to bring your children around. So keep your kids at home or take them to Disneyland or take them to Chuck E. Cheese. But if you need your child to be entertained by a big human in a costume wearing makeup, take them to the circus or something. Don't ruin your child's life and don't ruin us because that's what you're doing. End quote. So for
Linda?
those of us who
Linda,
are at the drag queen
Just-
show,
Linda, did she ask you, or he, I'm sorry, I don't know which way to phrase that,
Yeah.
to share this with us? Okay, thank
those of
you.
you who are, end quote. For those of us who are at the drag queen show, it was strippers and porn stars on stage dancing around to the confused delight of far too many children. This is why we need prayer so wisdom and discernment can be utilized in decisions that affect our community. So while children were being sexualized and groomed, citizens were illegally being trespassed from a public park for the crime of prayer. It's time for the, what did I write here? Oh, it's time for the, I can't read my writing. It's time for the tail to stop wagging the dog. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I do want to say that the police investigated the dancer. I don't know the results of that investigation, but with regard to the criticism of our police department, I trust them explicitly, I trust their judgment, and I trust them to keep our town safe. Announcements? Woody?
I would love to change the subject. So I'm on the board at Lake City Center. That's where old people go to hang out and get food and be happy. And we are looking for volunteers on Meals on Wheels. We do about 3,000 meals a month. Every day, we feed people, and we need folks to come out, and sometimes they're the only people that get to talk to somebody, and it means a lot. You bring them food. So if you're interested, let us know. Lake City Center, looking for helpers on the Meals on Wheels delivery. You'll do like 6 or 8 people. It's not a real big time consumer, but it's good for the heart, good for the soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Woody, what's an old person?
What is it, 55 or?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Really rough on these old people.
I'm sorry.
we at the city charge an event fee when someone wants to hold an event such as Ironman we're discussing tonight, or 4th of July, or even Pride in the Park. And these events have an impact on the city far greater than, I believe, what our event fees are currently charging. For example, I think the Pride in the Park cost our taxpayers about $40,000. Is that somewhere around there?
There were 2 events.
And there were 2 events that day, actually. That was one of the reasons why. There was the thing in McEwen and the thing in the park. And then, so we have Ironman coming up, and we're going to hear about that and how much that costs us for law enforcement and public safety. These events seem to be happening every weekend. We just had Coeur d'Alene. I just think we need to increase our fees for these events to more accurately reflect what the impact is for our law enforcement as well as the taxpayer. I believe the current fee for these events is like $250, which just doesn't cover it. So I would urge you to set an item on next agenda so that we can discuss raising our event fees.
Based on that logic, we'd charge the folks with the prayer thing down here in the Pride in the Park, let's say that'd be about 20 grand each if we were going to cover that 40 grand. I'm not sure that's the way to go.
Well, it would be a good discussion, Dan, I think, and that's
Let's not try to get into the discussion so much. It's just,
Thing is,
we're
we-
going to put it on the agenda and have that discussion.
It's something that I think we need to discuss, especially, I mean, it took me, when I first started and I learned that the fee was like $50, it took me a long time just to push to get it up to $250, which still doesn't cover our costs. So I just think we need a discussion of, obviously Dan has input he wants to make. I think other council do, and I would just request that you set that on the next meeting's agenda.
Yes.
I agree with Dan wholeheartedly, but I would like to suggest that we give staff time to put together a proposal, a straw man, so to speak, that we can have discussion off of.
Yeah, you're getting all this, Troy, and quite frankly, I think just the idea of a flat fee probably isn't really the best way to try to manage the fees. In other words, some events don't cost the city that much, and we're charging it. Some cost a lot more. And we also have to weigh the overall benefit to the community for whatever event it is. So actually, Troy, as you and your brilliant staff weigh those different issues, we'll want to look at something besides maybe just flat fees. I see the attorney giving me the eye, because I know we have to treat people equally, and I understand that, but equally may also mean based upon how much they're costing the city, et cetera.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could just add to that, when it comes to the agenda, could we also have that on the agenda, just really looking at maybe an assessment by police and fire. Some of these events are very familiar to them. They know what the staffing's going to take, or they can at least kind of guess, ballpark it. So maybe an assessment. And then also, I think part of that discussion should also involve, for the next meeting, how many permits we're going to continue to allow when we just don't have the resources, so.
In a way, this is a wonderful discussion, because for those of us who've been here for a long time, I remember when 1 or 2 events in the summer was a big deal. And so it certainly has come a long way from that for the greater community, not just Coeur d'Alene. So far, I've heard requests. Are there any announcements? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion on the consent calendar? The consent calendar motion. Hearing none, will the clerk take the roll, please?
Miller. Aye. McEvers.
Yes.
Gookin.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next item of business before us is a resolution, First Amendment to the host venue agreement with World Triathlon Corporation. And you're going to open this presentation, Troy? Well, there you are.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, good evening. And then I will turn it over to our talented partners at the North Idaho Sports Commission. We come to you tonight to share with you an opportunity that Ironman and our North Idaho Sports Commission, the Downtown Association, and the Coeur d'Alene Chamber support, which is to move a race in the year 2023, an Ironman race, and I should officially call it a 140.6 mile race, which to Troy means it's full, versus the half at 70.3 that it's scheduled to be. Ironman has come forward and has offered this up. We have been at this partnership with Ironman since 2003. This is the third year of the 3-year contract, and so we are bringing forward this for your consideration. Again, a full is 140.6, the half is 70.3. This year will be a half. It occurs this upcoming Sunday. In so doing, the full takes more time, takes more resources. So in order to give you an accounting, it is approximately $36,275 for a full, based on staffing and all staffing, really. Ironman takes care of any physical damage that occurs in the parks. They help out with control of the traffic and security in Ironman Village. So again, Britt Bachtel Browning is here to share with you. We bring forward a very simple amendment to a contract. I would stand for any questions or ask Britt from the North Idaho Sports Commission to come forward.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Troy, before we hear from, I'm sorry, Britt, I do want to hear from you. Could we go back over the money portion just a little bit? You estimated maybe around 36,000. The figures that I've been looking at are closer to 40 for the full Ironman, and that's just police and fire. If we look at streets and parks.
Yeah, I would temper that in saying that there are some people that are on staff, so I'm not adding in what we would otherwise have on staff.
On staff on a Sunday?
On a normal
Okay.
event. So I'm not taking the full loaded cost of all those people for that day, because we will be partially staffed, if that's a fair way to compare the numbers.
It is. But do we actually bring in more people from parks and streets, just like we do police and fire?
Yes, we do.
Okay, right, because I don't have the estimates from streets and parks to compare, so. All right, thank you.
Yep, you bet. Good question, thank you.
So, real quick, we're planning on the same weekend, just full instead of half?
We're planning the same weekend, yes.
Woody?
So Troy, tell me the difference on the impact on a half and a full, economically, socially, just the impact on the
Sports
city.
Commission can help with that. The day is longer for our citizens. Let me just put that right out there, because the finish line is midnight on a 140.6. I say it that way because that's the way Ironman wants us to call that race, rather than quote full. And so the roads will be tied up longer. It is a variable for folks that are traveling south on Highway 95. That bridge is an impediment. If I could widen the bridge, this would be less of an impact for those that are traveling southbound. So again, we look at it as a community event. We've gone through a couple iterations with Ironman as they have grown and evolved as well. And the economics are for the community, when you look at dollars brought in for a 140.6-mile race, is significantly more than the 70.3 race. People stay here longer, they bring family, and they're in our community longer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Hi, I'm Britt Bachtel Browning with the North Idaho Sports Commission, and I've got Courtney Schwagler. She is the vice president. She's going to come up on when we get to a couple of her slides. So let me just open this up, and I'm going to look this way because I think it's easier. All right, and you received this packet, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Oops, let me find my, okay. How about we do? Trying to figure out how to advance the slide. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it. So a little bit of history. I won't go through this in detail, but as you know, as Troy mentioned, the race has been here a really long time. Up until about 2017 or 2015, it was always at the end of June. 3,000 athletes is really popular, did really well. And probably partially because of that, in June of 2015, both Ironman, the chamber, and the city decided to add a half. So they added a half in June and they moved the full to August. So fast forward a couple of years, that may have been, there are a lot of factors going on at that time, but that may have just been too much, quite honestly, for the community, and the numbers started to decline. So at this time, June of 2017, this City Council voted to terminate the full Ironman contract and to just continue for a couple more years with the half. Needless to say, there were a lot of people who were disappointed, myself included. The community really, felt like, especially the triathlete community, that this was important. So we formed the Save Ironman Committee, which eventually aligned itself with the North Idaho Sports Commission, which was an existing nonprofit. Again, kind of the rest is history. We worked for about 2 years trying to figure out how it would be sustainable, how we could make it work so that the community wasn't fatigued, that the numbers were up for Ironman, and that it was a win-win. And we came up with this rotational basis. And so I'm proud to say on October 15th of 2019, we voted here for a new contract on a rotational basis. And I'll just go through that real quick. Again, I think Troy talked about it. The contracting parties are the city, World Triathlon Corporation, and us, North Idaho Sports Commission, a 501c3 local entity. 3 years, we're in our second year right now. As Troy mentioned, it was the full last year and a half this year and supposed to be a half next year. So we're going to talk about that. The course, we talk about changing it, but it ranks up there just over and over really high with athletes, so people love it. So we're not going to change it. I wish we could change the bridge like we talked about, but not yet. The funding, again, the city is responsible for the in-kind services that we talked about. The Sports Commission is responsible for the host sponsorship fee. So we raise funds and we pay that fee to Ironman. I'm going to move forward on that. Last year, I just want to talk about, last year, as we all know, was a crazy hot year, but it was really successful and I think inspirational. There were stories, Saunders Beach is one area where everyone rallies there, and in this case, the people went above and beyond, and they came out of their houses and they supported athletes. And what was more impressive about that is there was a group of athletes that from all over the world, actually, that bound together afterwards and created this letter campaign to try to find those people in Saunders and say thank you for doing what you did. So it was that was just one of the inspiring stories. Obviously, the volunteers, the police, fire, Ironman staff, the medical staff, they just worked above. I was out there personally, and I know any of us that were out there not racing felt like we did a race. So it was just an amazing race despite the heat. And again, with the surveys come back, even with that crazy heat, it was still ranked globally as one of the top races in the world for Ironman. So this year, as Troy mentioned, we've got 3,000 athletes signed up. 14 countries represented, which is pretty impressive for a half Ironman. 41 states, you see some of the top states, wouldn't surprise you, they're local. Iron Kids, I'm really excited about on Saturday morning. We have 300 kids that are already pre-registered, which is out of this world. Usually they wait till the last minute. So we're probably going to have 600 to 700 kids. We have a food truck out in McEwen. We're also doing a ribbon cutting because both Ironman and the North Idaho Sports Commission are joining the CDA Regional Chamber. So that'll be fun. So it's going to be a really good event. And then I'm excited to talk about the North Idaho Sports Commission Community Festival. This is sort of thinking outside the box. We have been trying to find a way to get smaller businesses involved in the event and that maybe can't afford to be an Ironman village. And so this year we're doing this experiment, and basically we have food trucks. We have like 3 food trucks. We have a beer garden. We have craft vendors. We'll have music, and it's literally outside the village in City Park. And Ironman's been a really good, ally in that, just saying, hey, let's do something that complements each other here. So I'll let you know how it goes, but I'm pretty excited about it. All right, so let's just go in on the economic impact because Troy alluded to this. I think that these numbers are low. So I'll start with saying I'll start with the last thing. We're actually doing a economic impact study with the University of Idaho this year. We've been providing information to them, and we will have real numbers for the half and for the full from the economics department. So we'll have, specific to the region, the time, post-COVID. So we'll have that. But for now, we've looked at, there haven't been too many fulls since 2019, but as an example, Ironman Texas, which is, was in 2019, did 13.5 million. Same number of athletes, roughly. Whistler did 11.5 million in 2017. So this is all pre-COVID. So we're just estimating, we're really around 11, probably closer to 12 to 15 million. But we'll have those actual numbers from our study. Athletes, obviously 3,000 athletes, they all bring their friends and families. So you've got 6,000 to 7,000 people staying here. And for a full Ironman, again, it's longer. They stay an average of 4 days, but a lot of them will come and stay for a week. The demographics of the income of an Ironman athlete is quite high. As you can imagine, they've got money to spend. So the economic impact to the city, I really, I know there's a lot of concern about costs, but I don't know one day event that can bring in that kind of cash to this city. Then we've got some other benefits to the community. I'll just touch on a few. It builds us as a world-class place for events. Other events, we were actually approached by Ironman to do the World Championships kind of right before COVID, which is a huge event. So it brings that. Ironman provides up to $15,000 in community funds to like the cheer team and the high schools, and they come out and volunteer. So they provide grants every year. Iron Kids, I talked about it before, but it's really nice. This year we actually connected. Ironman will give up to 200 free entries to low-income kids. So we connected this year with the Kroc Center, and I hope that we'll get some kids taking us up on that. Recruitment of talented workforce. I know you don't want to hear that it brings people here, but it brings talented people here. And I have a couple of examples of doctors that, that are at Kootenai, that they came and raced an Ironman, and they would otherwise live somewhere else, but they chose this as their home. So I've seen it. I know those examples are there. And then, of course, we've got the rental of properties are high. That's more economic. And then we get to showcase the local restaurants through the Dine Around program, which we did last year, and that only happens with a full. All right, so Courtney is going to talk. I know you guys care a lot about health and health of this community, so Courtney is an expert in this field, so she's going to just talk for a minute, and I'm going to stay up here.
All right. Hello, good evening. I just want to take a quick detour from, obviously, we're talking about Ironman, but there's one other important event that Britt alluded to that we also host, which is Iron Kids. What's unique about Iron Kids here in Coeur d'Alene is we support it so well that we have it both at the half and full. Typically in other cities, it's only supported really during that full event. So we attract over 500. There is greater registration too with the full. So that's something to keep in mind. Personally, growing up, I've always been an athlete nut. I'm one of them racing on Sunday and survived last year's as well in the heat. I'm still normal, I think. But with this event, I think it's important just to know our community in general, hosting things like Iron Kids, can change the trajectory of an individual's life, a kiddo, right? If you start to help them become a good steward of their health early on, you're setting them up for success. And I say that as a registered dietitian who's now in the health industry, the health insurance industry, and a data analyst. So a lot of what I do is look at how do we prevent that pipeline of high claimants future. So think now, fast forward to adults. If they don't have that foundation growing up, gall darn, it is hard to take them from like a mid-risk or a high-risk individual. Think of conditions like diabetes or other comorbidities. If they're already that way, it's really hard to reverse and unbundle those habits that they've created. So if we can help support our community, again, Iron Kids is just one of those events that helps do that. Our goal would be, through Iron Kids, we can help our kids avoid being one of these stats, where 1 in 3 are obese or overweight. 2 in 3 don't get enough daily activity. And 1 in 5 of our teenagers are already pre-diabetic. Where that's headed, in my opinion, the pipeline, just looking at the workforce I look at, is 37 million Americans are diabetic, and it's the 7th leading cause of death in America. Not to get dark and deep, but I'm just trying to avoid that pipeline, simple events like Iron Kids. So I just ask that perhaps that becomes part of, when you're thinking the value of Ironman and what it brings to our community, that Iron Kids is a part of that package.
All right. Thanks, Courtney. And I think we're doing, yeah, cheers. We know there's a lot of benefits, and I hope that some of you will take the time to come out and watch Iron Kids. So back to, I'm not going to go through this, but I do want to talk about kind of where we are right now, and after, reflecting on our new relationship and kind of our new timing. So June still is, even though we've had crazy weather this year, we had crazy weather last year, it's still hands down better than August. There's more daylight, less risk of smoke, let's hope. Businesses seem to like the activity. They get a little bit of boost in June, whereas August, they're already pretty full. It can attract a pro athlete field, which we had last year, which brings in really high, a lot of media attention and high profile folks. And then city labor resources, I think, I got this from Troy, but are generally not in overtime status at that time. So that is a benefit of that timing. The one thing I also want to say about our relationship with Ironman, they really have a regional focus now. And I know that there's been, the idea that they were Tampa-based and corporate. Well, we have calls with them every single month. And they have been a really good partner and just really focused and wanting to learn more about the community. I think them joining the chamber shows that they're committed. They're not just going to come in 1 week and leave. So I think that's new and exciting. And then us as a sports commission, I've loved to just be that liaison with businesses in the city. And, if there's any complaint or there's anything, I can't solve it all, but at least there's that local liaison. I was trying to solve for beer earlier today. Didn't work out, but I tried. And then, of course, talking about, we really are focused about, we don't want the local community and smaller businesses to feel left out, especially if they're not on Sherman and they're off the beaten path. So the community festival, I think, shows that. So why would another 140.6 be great? Well, again, the huge economic impact. I wouldn't say on the numbers it's double a half, but it's at least $5 or $6 million more based on previous numbers. So, yes, I know it's a longer day. It's about 6 hour longer day, and it does I'm one of those people that lives south of town, so I get it. But if you figure $5 or $6 million more for 5 or 6 hours more, I think it speaks for itself. Their same price tag, that's one nice thing. Ironman is charging us the same host fee for a half, so that helps us too. The Dine Around program only happens with a full, and again, that was really great. Last year, we got some of these restaurants that were off the beaten path involved and had people going into their restaurants. Iron Kids we talked about. And then the one thing, we did have the 3rd grade swim program with Croc when Ironman was more regularly here. I think it brings the opportunity to try to bring that back, because that has been halted for a while. So So what's next, I guess, we'll let you guys vote, but if you approve this amendment, we'll celebrate. We're going to announce it at this year's race, which the festivities, if you haven't been down there, are ramping up right now. We really want to get local businesses involved early if they want to be sponsors, especially Iron Kids. There's no reason a big local company doesn't want its name all over Iron Kids. And then obviously, I hope the festival will be bigger and better and we'll get, be double in size next year. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Britt? You go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Britt, I couldn't agree with you more, but it's a fabulous community event, and I can't think of anything more fun for the kids and more, I guess, community involvement. It's a wonderful, Ironman, hands down, is a wonderful event. I do want to kind of focus back on the cost a little bit. What does the Sports Commission, the host fee, how much is that?
So for a half Ironman, it's $62,250. For the full Ironman, it was $125,000. The Ironman did work with us on that because of a COVID year. So 62,000. We're the ones that are on the hook for that, and we raise funds and we get community partners, and we're out there, raising funds and then get money through Iron Kids as well. So that's all rests on our shoulders.
Okay. You talked about there is a lot of commerce going on that day, and I don't know what your committee's. I mean, obviously you have the pressure yourself of raising the fee for the host, but the city fee keeps going up as well because our wages don't remain the same. Our fuel costs don't remain the same. And so that just keeps climbing. I don't know if there's been any creative conversation with Troy or anybody from your committee that, is there a way to peel some of that commerce off to offset some of the city cost? I don't know if you've had those conversations, because they just, I mean, we have to kind of do a value judgment, which $36,000 in an investment into such a great community event, I mean, it's a pretty good deal when you look at how it impacts the surrounding community.
Yeah.
But it's still the city budget, and we always, when we're working on the budgets, we're always looking for every penny. So it's just wondering if there's been, Troy, maybe you can enlighten us if there's been those kind of conversations.
Yes, thank you, council member. Always looking for money, right? That's my full-time job, actually. The opportunity here is we've been gigantically successful and we're in a 3-year contract. I would say that I would look to a year when you can bring that forward. Again, I reiterated how many times Ironman has changed, and so we have a new director of our region. Again, this year he knows the business quite well. So a lot of things we do good for the community that don't have a return. I think this one has a very big return, and it's a cost that is real. I have fun with this, and I have triathlete family members. They don't raise too much cane by drinking too much Gatorade. So I'm going to have fun with that, and that the public safety side of it isn't quite like other events. So you're right. It doesn't have a direct remuneration in the short run, but in 2003, when we went after that, we went for the long run. And again, the doctors that Britt is speaking about, it's pretty clear that they came and chose Kootenai Health because of running an Ironman, and that's a really great recruitment tool for our community. So I'm avoiding an answer because Ironman classically has not paid to be at a city. They have a good model, and they work it really, really well. However, we have an upside because we are a gigantically desirable location in which to run an Ironman.
One more, Mr.
Go
Mayor?
ahead.
Thank you. Troy, so really the consideration for tonight is whether just to go with a full Ironman. It isn't really about changing cost at this point in time. But when we meet again next year, we would have those conversations about how to take into consideration that the costs will keep going up, and maybe there's a creative way.
Yeah. I think the one thing, the economic impact study, they'll be looking at not just direct costs, but in some of those indirect benefits too. So you'll have more of that as well, but sure, I mean, we'll have to reconsider what it looks like for another 3-year contract at that time.
Thank you, Brett.
Yes, Kiki.
Britt, nice to see you. So the economic impact study I had a question on, is that going to actually use the current half in order to track real-time costs as far as what it costs in police, fire, staff?
We are providing all the information to the professors, so Courtney's been involved in that as well. We've been giving them information from Ironmans. They're going to bolt on some questions, Ironman is, to their athlete survey. But in terms of getting, I was actually, when you were talking about it, I was thinking we should provide that information to them and we can dictate what we want out of the study. So if we wanted to have a component of that be the city costs versus benefit, or, that piece, why not? I mean, their economics department, they're excited for it, so.
I guess I'm just thinking that on, some of the falls or even last year when it was really hot, the services that the city may have had to provide were much larger. And I know that there's still a relationship with Kootenai Health and their medical, but if that went away, I guess I'd like to see some focus be put on really drilling down on those numbers to assure that, I think there is great economic impact. I don't think that's going to be disputed. But to make sure that if we're saying it's $36,000, it really isn't 59 or 70. So I'm in making sure that all those costs are covered and then that we continue to look at a way to try to offset those too.
Yeah, sounds great.
I kind of view this differently because when Ironman first came, it was a nonprofit corporation, and now we're talking about a large international for-profit corporation that comes to our town and closes down a lot of streets, and not all businesses benefit because some businesses have to actually close because traffic can't get to them during the Ironman race. So I think the council ought to consider that, because if you move forward with this agreement, you're moving forward with these costs as they are for another year. Dan?
Well, I guess just for the discussion of, the 140 versus the 70 is, I guess, apart from the merits of maybe a raising if we should do it at all or whatever, but it seemed to me that once you're here and they're there and all of that, there's some economies of scale. And so if they're here already for a day that's going to go into the afternoon for a lot of folks, once you get into Sunday afternoon and evening, there's probably less costs in some ways and less impact on people, but I could imagine a lot of potential benefit, and I guess that's some of what the economic survey will tell us. So I guess if we do it, and we've done the fall before, and if there was some demand for it, I mean, if we do it, and it seems like it's reasonable to look at that for another year, then I think it does make sense to give the fall one another shot.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I was just going to say, Britt, good to see you as always, and Courtney, thanks for coming. It's no mystery that I'm a fan of Ironman. I've had an opportunity to participate for a couple of years in the full race. And I wanted to say, I think my son might have been in the first kids race, and he's 24 now. So I appreciate I just want to say I appreciate all the efforts that you've put forward to keep Ironman alive in the community. I think it really is a positive, healthy addition to our community to bring citizens together, rooting and cheering for a positive lifestyle that we can all support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, there is a proposed motion before you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 22-027, approving the First Amendment to the host venue agreement with the World Triathlon Corporation and North Idaho Sports Commission for Ironman branded triathlon events, changing the 2023 event to a full 140.6 mile race.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to oppose this. I have Ironman fatigue. And I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, when this was a nonprofit organization, it seemed really cool. But it's a $650 million international corporation owned by the Chinese. And I object to that. I also find it very disturbing that we're celebrating people coming here who are making $247,000 a year when the average Coeur d'Alene citizen makes $200,000 less than that. Their rent's going up. It's costing them more to put gas in their car and food on their table. And to bring in a bunch of people who are wealthy into town to see how spectacular it is, to me is part of the growth problem that we have with people coming here and buying million-dollar condos and displacing the people we are paid to represent. And it's going to cost us money. Taxpayers going to be underwriting this multi-million-dollar Chinese corporation to the tune of $36,000. I think they can pay for it if they want to have it here. I think they can do a lot more if they want to have it here. So I'm going to object to this, and I'm going to let it be known that I have Ironman fatigue, and next year I'm going to be extremely reluctant to renew the contract.
You can sit down because we're on into a motion. Further discussion on the motion?
Well,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, well, I always appreciate Dan's viewpoint. It's kind of glass half full, glass half empty sometimes. I see the benefit of Ironman in the community. I mean, it's a fantastic, we talk about having wholesome events, it's Ironman. So I'm not anti-Ironman, I would support that. What I would like to see, it would be great for this year, to be honest with you, if we were going to negotiate and go to a full Ironman, that we could recover some of the cost. I don't know if that's part of the motion tonight, though. I don't know if that's possible. Certainly next year, we would want to look at all of the additional cost of the city being covered, aside from the people that are already on duty in police and fire and parks already. You know, the police, because of negotiating over the years, the police aren't having as large a presence anymore at Ironman. They've managed to hire some of that out. Where the real fatigue comes is from our fire. I mean, that is their big event for the year, for the medical calls, which, you know, unfortunately, some people don't quite make it to Ironman status. I would be one of them, for sure. But it does put a large burden on the city. And Dan's right in the fact that it is for-profit, and we have to balance those sometimes. Everything we do up here is a value judgment. So what I'm saying is I'm going to support this, but I absolutely want city administration to negotiate for our next contract to remove some of these costs that the city's continuing to bear when we are now dealing with a for-profit corporation.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney and Mr. City Administrator. If this motion is approved, then the contract is approved for not this year's race, but next year's race. So the opportunity to negotiate dissipates unless they also choose to come to the table. Because if you have a contract and you've already both approved it, then you're done, unless both parties agree to come back to the table. Is that correct?
Yes, this is an amendment to the existing contract, which goes through next year. So if you don't approve the amendment, it still goes forward through next year. If you approve it, it goes forward through next year with the additional costs.
One more question, Mr. Mayor. Is there a time rush on this? We're talking about next year's race, not this year's race, couldn't we have those conversations between city administration and the Ironman Corporation? Why do we have to extend tonight?
So Ironman was hoping to announce that at the event this weekend, where you have participants here and they could launch right into it as they become members of our Coeur d'Alene Regional Chamber. So the timing of it is pretty straight up with what they'd like to do. And that will bring a potential flood of participants, because sometimes this race fills up. It's so desirable as it goes to full.
Quick thing, I'll just say, they typically open registration for the next year at the day after the race. So they're hoping to be able to flip that switch and get the, excitement at the event, and then be ready to open registration not for a half, but for a full. But I think, kind of going back to what you were saying, we would be talking about a new contract basically this fall, right? We'd be talking about that because the existing contract will end next June, existing. So we would absolutely be talking about how we could, if we were going to continue another contract cycle for 3 years, we would talk about how we could help defray costs.
Thank you.
Dan?
Well, I think that's good to know. I mean, our eyes are open that, we've got a contract through next year. Yes, this is going to change some costs, and we can add some costs, but we believe benefits for the community. But, I would certainly be on board with Dan is beyond that, especially given, potential economic conditions and everything, is that unless we're looking at something that's going to be at least a, expense neutral kind of a thing for whatever fee they're going to pay us versus the cost, then, yeah, it's going to be a whole different negotiation at that point.
Okay. Will the clerk take the roll, please?
McEvers.
Can I abstain and come back? No, it sounds terrible. I heard.
You can pass, and then I'll come back to you. You going to do that?
I have some thoughts. Yes, I'll pass and come back. I'm not ready yet. Sorry. I had a couple thoughts.
Do you want to share your thoughts?
Gookin.
No.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
McEvers.
So my thoughts, will you call it a yes or a no? So theoretically, because this is a change, couldn't you just go, okay, yeah, we'll do the change, but we want 40 grand to cover our costs, and then we can stand tall and say, okay, we're doing a full one, but we're getting paid. But I'm a little late on that. So, yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Okay, we have a resolution regarding city-controlled parking spaces. Stephanie, welcome.
Hello. How are you guys tonight? Just down.
You sound like you're sick.
I'm still stuffy.
So I come tonight to provide you guys the opportunity to enter an agreement between the city and the Chamber of Commerce. This would be the 8th year that we would enter this agreement. It would help subsidize the cost of the fireworks and some of the other fees that the Chamber is starting to have to assume because of the 4th of July events. So some of the costs that they are now looking at would be approximately $30,000 for fireworks, $13,000 in electrical, $10,000 or better in security, banner fees, sanitation, potties, permits. So they're looking at fees that are coming up to about $53,000 or better. Last year, we, in total revenue for 2 full days in the parking lots, what we ended up providing to the chamber was $39,268. That was for the full 2 days. This resolution would only be for the 1 day, for the actual day of the 4th. It would be for the 7 parking lots that are city-owned, and I have aligned in this map. So Memorial Field, the the museum parking lot, Independence Point, McEwen, the library, the city hall parking lots that are normally free would be $20 for that day, and the parking garage. Diamond would help facilitate the charges and collecting of the money for us. And then the fees, the extra fees that are accounted for to Diamond come out of that before we give the money to the chamber.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephanie, does the city make any money off this? I mean,
So
do we get any
we-
income, revenue, I should say? Do we get any revenue from this?
We get a little bit of revenue. The chamber would give us $9 per every parking spot.
And how much is that?
So
Do we know what-
last year, it was approximately $13,700.
And last year, if I recall correctly, we had that go to law enforcement and public safety, fire, to help reimburse their costs.
Sure, yes.
Are we doing
It
that
goes
again
back.
this year?
Yes,
Excellent. Thank you so much.
yes. And they will also still have their spaces at Independence Point and down here at City Hall where they have their command centers and then extra fire trucks
Very good.
for assistance.
Thank you.
Woody?
Stephanie, did we increase the amount of parking, or was it like this last year?
This is the same as last year. Yes. The only thing that we're reducing is because the 4th is on Monday this year, we're only going to do the $20 for the one day of Monday. Last year, it was on Sunday, so we did Saturday and Sunday, but they had events going in the park for both days.
Okay, thanks.
Tiffany, do you, was there any count of how full these lots were on that event last weekend?
Last year?
Yeah.
Yes, so I do have the fees broken out separately. But here's the hang up with that, is that it's very difficult because when you come and pay your $20 for a parking lot, you get like a little raffle ticket and they let you come in and park anywhere. You keep that ticket all day. It's not like if you parked at City Hall and then chose to move to McEwen that you would pay an additional $20. You have that coupon already, so it's very hard to judge that. But they do, let's see. Well, I don't have the actual parking passes sold. I just have dollar amounts per, so I don't have that.
And I guess where I was going is that I recalled watching those parking lots after the parade a few years back, and some of those big parking spaces were empty. I mean, nearly empty in some of those areas. So it seemed to me that although this helps the chamber, when we have that much valuable real estate, and if it's not, folks are not utilizing it, maybe there should be some compromises onto how we can change some of the parking lot use out if that many spaces aren't needed for the day. So I'd like to see some sort of analysis on, are they full?
So they fill up for the parade, and I know that they empty out a little bit during the day, but they definitely fill right back up for the fireworks. And we do know that.
Okay.
And just talking in general with some of the patrons last year, I know they were new. They didn't have parking tickets when they were showing up here at 5 or 6 o'clock to set up for the parade.
Okay.
Or I'm not sorry, I'm for the fireworks. They hadn't been here for the parade.
And so then my other question was on the parking garage itself. Is that
Yes.
for every space in the entire garage?
Yes.
So, and we had this conversation, and I don't recall if it was with some chamber folks or with you, about the top floor of the garage, which is a prime viewing lot, maybe being
Absolutely.
utilized a different way than just regular parking if it's the whole entire garage. So I just didn't know if that conversation had gone forward and maybe there was some different things that could be done there.
There is some conversation going about that. This year, I believe the chamber is going to hold those special passes for the special event stuff in the chamber. That's correct.
For the parking garage, do you mean our chamber lot?
Your chamber event that you're having, that's special. It's at the chamber, not in the parking garage, right?
Right, correct.
But that
Okay.
is something that we should discuss moving up to there.
Thanks.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor. Is that Linda back there?
It is Linda.
Well, this is kind of directed at Linda. The past few years, thank you, I hate putting you on the spot.
I'll do my best.
The past few years, we asked kindly that the chamber would allow police and fire to use the facilities during the day? Because it is tough sometimes to get to a
Yes.
facility. Is that still something you're willing to do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I know, I used to head there all the time, but I didn't know it's always a given, so that would be wonderful
Yes.
if you could accommodate police and fire. The other thing is, are you working with NIC again on their parking lots?
We are working on it. We haven't completely had the conversation about exactly what's going to take place yet.
Is that true?
So.
NIC parking lots.
We opted not to use them for parade.
The parade, correct.
Post-staging, so they're open at this point unless they've already done something.
Well, good luck to you. I can't help you in that regard anymore. But anyway, it'll be a great event. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
A motion is proposed before you.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve Resolution 22028, approving a lease agreement with city-controlled parking spaces to Chamber of Commerce for the 4th of July to generate revenue to help pay for the cost of the community fireworks display.
Second.
Motion second, discussion on the motion.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering, perhaps, if we do make money from this and the chamber has some money, we could take Mr. O'Connell's idea and we could go out to the lake and provide tiny headphones for the fish so that the sound would not be as egregious. I'll work with you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like it.
Yeah.
Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Gookin.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
McEvers.
Yes.
Next, we have a public hearing. Hi.
Hi.
I'm looking at somebody who signed up, who I think meant to sign up for the
Oh.
public comment. So, hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nice to meet you finally. So this is a public hearing for our 2022 CDBG Annual Action Plan. And we're going to go over a little background, our citizen participation process, our identified needs, our 2022 action plan budget, and then have a opportunity for public comment, and then our decision point. So a little brief history. Our city's Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, is a grant from the Housing and Urban Development Agency, HUD, to support low to moderate income Coeur d'Alene residents through specific allowable activities. And the city first became eligible to receive CDBG funds in 2007. And today we are looking for approval of the city's 2022 draft annual action plan. Just a key term, LMI means low to moderate income, and that is a HUD designation of households whose total earnings are based on 30, 50, and 80% of our yearly area median income. And for 2022, the median income in Kootenai County is $82,200, and that's based on a family of 4. So in selecting activities each year, they must meet a national objective from HUD and benefit low and moderate income persons, aid in the prevention of slum and blight, or meet an urgent need. And they must also meet annual action plan and consolidated plan goals and be a HUD approved activity. So when choosing activities to fund, we have to consider the capacity of our staffing, size of our community, the amount of our allocation, our local politics, and the capacity of our recipient organizations to carry out the activities. So some of the activities that the CDBG funds can be used for are acquisition of real property, relocation and demolition, rehab of residential and non-residential structures, construction of public facilities and improvements of public facilities. Public services, we're limited to a maximum of 15% of our annual allocation for public service activities. activities relating to energy conservation and renewable energy resources, and providing assistance to businesses to carry out economic development and job creation and retention activities. So the public service activities, this is a list of some of the allowable ones. Mental health services, fair housing counseling, educational programs, energy conservation, senior citizen services, services for homeless people, employment services, crime prevention, public safety, child care services, healthcare services, and substance abuse services. So at the bottom, we have a cap of 15% of our annual income, and this year that amount is $52,367. We have an annual grant to Meals on Wheels for $10,000, so that leaves us with $42,367 for public service activities. And our 5-year consolidated plan goals are listed here. So our first 2 goals are related to increasing the supply of for sale housing and rental housing, affordable to our low and moderate income residents. And then goal number 3 is to improve our city sidewalks and make them more accessible to those with disabilities. And then continuing neighborhood revitalization to improve the condition of housing in low-income areas or to low-income residents. Goal number 5 is economic development to expand higher paying employment opportunities. And then number 6 is to offer public service program assistance to organizations that support low and moderate income residents. So for our citizen participation, it's comprised of a public forum, community survey, a 30-day public comment period, and this public hearing. And we advertise in the Coeur d'Alene Press and through our Facebook and website, and we have ongoing email communication with our stakeholder list. And so we did our public forum and our community survey and our consultation with some of our stakeholders, and so we have a strong support for continuing past projects, and then we have some increased focus for some of the needs for 2022. We'll go over those. So some of the comments that we got, every comment that we had included affordable housing, so for rent and for sale, and for our workforce, students, disabled individuals, and seniors. And then mental health services was also a big one, affordable and quality childcare services, as well as the support for childcare facilities and staffing. There's been a lot of staffing issues in our childcare facilities. And then we did propose to increase the emergency minor home repair grant to 20% of our allocation. It's normally just a flat $50,000 a year, but there was a support for increasing that amount to 20%. And then the sidewalk improvements and blight cleanup efforts were other comments that we got. We had some staff from NIC at our public forum, and so they expressed a need for veteran student housing, an on-campus food pantry, workforce scholarships for non-degree vocational programs, and they did say that student enrollment is down due to our housing shortage and affordability issues right now. And so we'll just go through a few quotes here. One was, I'm seeing that the administrative expenses for the funding is 20%, which I find excessive. Is there a reason this is set so high? So HUD sets the 20% cap on our admin funds. So it's 20% of our annual allocation. So it covers our admin costs, employee wages, benefits, the administration of the MRAP program, travel and training, consultation assistance to help with plans, and then advertising, supplies, and fair housing support. And then any unspent admin funds will go back into the general fund to be reallocated to activities. So this is another quote we got, and this is kind of a long one, but we kind of wanted to address it. It's, the LMI cohort is often misunderstood, causes are oversimplified, and solutions are difficult. The committee review and award process intended to gild elected officials must include qualified persons who have material and real-world experience. Agendas harden the process. Let's get beyond platitudes and solve real-life problems with business maturity. Perceived professionals are not. Quality, not quantity, should be a guiding factor. Although satisfying to the process, dispersing funds among many does not have a material effect, make an impact. The perception of fairness has inhibited the process. So I just wanted to kind of go over our process of choosing activities. We have a committee that gets together and goes over all the applications and scores them and discusses them. And it's not so much based on fairness as it is if the activity meets the requirements and has their application complete and can carry out the activity that they're asking for a grant from. So I'm not really sure what else I can say to that, except for that we do try to be fair in that way. And the other thing that the committee does is if anybody has a conflict of interest with a company applying, they recuse themselves from voting on that particular project. And then our last one, supportive mental health is an absolute community need, more now than ever with recently shuttered facilities. For example, NAMI, Heritage Health, St. Vincent de Paul, and affinity organizations require support. So I think we can all see that we need more mental health support in our community. So we have our kind of confirmed needs on the left there of what we saw last year and typically over the past few years. And then we have a few new ones on the right. The affordable housing is still an issue and maybe becoming more of an issue. The sidewalk improvements is still a high need. Our housing needs and food support for workforce students, seniors, veterans, and our disabled community have increased. And mental health continues to increase in need. And the MRAP program, the reason we asked to increase the amount is a couple of things to help more people, but also costs have gone up on supplies and labor, so the money isn't going quite as far as it used to. And then, of course, affordable childcare and support for those facilities has also increased due to COVID and our current economy. So this is our budget draft based on our estimated funding this year of $349,112. So for sidewalk accessibility and repairs, we are asking for $5,000 or 1.4% of our allocation. The Lake City Center annual Meals on Wheels grant is $10,000. The MRAP program at 20%, that would be $69,822 rather than the usual $50,000. And then community service or community opportunity grants, which includes our public service grants, would be $194,467 or almost 56% of our grant. And then the admin capped at 20% is also $69,822. And that's our grand total of $349,112. So this is just a comparison of what we did last year as compared to what we're proposing for this year. And last year we received $360,490. So we have a little bit of a decrease this year by about $11,000. So our admin will go down a little bit. Our sidewalks and Meals on Wheels will stay the same. And our MRAP program will go up. And the community opportunity stays relatively the same. So for our sidewalk projects, we have some money. We kind of do a $5,000 each year to build up the fund. And we have about $26,000 in that fund right now, and then we'll have the 5,000 from this year. We try to optimize the funds by having the work done by city crews, and we're in the process of identifying some projects that we can consider to do for 2022 and 23. But staff capacity, our scheduling, and then access to materials will determine what we can actually accomplish. So we're looking for questions about our annual action plan and then our public hearing for any public comments. And then we will ask for the decision point to approve the submission of the 2022 annual action plan budget to HUD for official review.
Questions from the council? Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a question about the carryover. So you have on your one slide, which is, if you go back 3 times, you'll see the 2021 funding and then the 2022 funding. So this is new funding, new money that's coming in, but there's already money in these accounts.
The only one that has any money in it currently that isn't allocated or spoken for is the sidewalks.
And you said,
Because we haven't done any projects, so we've been just kind of building that fund up, and we're looking at projects that we can accomplish with a bigger total. So the 5,000 keeps accumulating over the 5 years.
so what is it?
What do you mean?
How much money's in there now?
Oh, it's about 26,000 right now, so it'll be.
So we're going to add 5,000 to that? Why, it says on the next slide that CDBG funds are optimized by having work done by city crews, which I'm sensitive to because we pay them to do, as a primary job, maintaining the streets and doing work that's required to keep that infrastructure up. And though they're available, I think they do need to be compensated. So has it been considered at all to have the sidewalk work contracted out?
I don't think so in the past. I wasn't here during when our last sidewalk project happened, so I'm not sure if that was discussed or not.
That's just one of my concerns. Oh, Troy has an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. There is reimbursement to the general fund for this work, and what we have discovered is that the projects are too small for a large contractor, and in investigating change orders, the specs to get that field fit was driving the cost way in excess of a good number of lineal feet being accomplished. So we've done that cost analysis. That's why the dollars have actually not been spent, is because we can't find a contractor. The engineered plans are very expensive, and right now we're actually having difficulty getting concrete to even do the work, which is why we have a couple projects that haven't been done in those areas. So a great question and a really solid answer on why we get more lineal feet done with our crews.
Based on that, I would almost lean to dropping that as a priority and just increasing the funding for something else, since it seems like it's something that we just can't do at $5,000 a year, if that's the case.
Well, it keeps building, and we do have 6 years to use the funds.
And so you have, these projects are lined up? I mean, this would be, say, I'm someone, I live, and I'm on a fixed income, and my sidewalk is crap out in front. I could apply for this, and you guys could fix it? Is that how it works?
Typically, we are talking about having that be part of the sidewalk funding, but we haven't implemented that. Typically, it's more for, the last project was to do ADA ramps and repair the sidewalk to a school, so access to a school or a bus stop, so it benefits more of the community versus just one homeowner.
Seems like
But we do have a project right now that is a sidewalk repair for someone who is LMI. So we have looked at, can we use it for that, just like we do the MRAP program.
Yeah, it seems like to me that would fall under MRAP, as the city does have an obligation, according to ADA, to fix our sidewalks. And that's us, that's not CDBG. I can see that it would reimburse some of that, but yeah, I really like the commenter said, I like the MRAP program. I think that's wonderful. I'm glad the cost of that has increased. No, I think that's a good move, so thank you.
Dan?
I would just, as we're just talking the numbers, I would really like to look at increasing another $5,000 to the Meals on Wheels. That's a known entity, and, I know we've gotten the reports before. I mean, that equates to thousands of meals a year. We know costs for food and all of that is going up. That's been pretty flat, it seems like, for a while. Maybe this year, not the sidewalk also, or out of the 194,000 community opportunity grants, I'm aware of some of that. They've done some good things, but those are larger projects. And if it ended up that they had, a pool to try to go for of 190,000 versus about 195,000, I don't think it'd make much of a difference in that, but an extra 5,000 for Meals on Wheels could be a real practical benefit. So as we get into the actual motion, we can negotiate.
Chelsea,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. I understand the grants designated for this year, but the next budget, I know we kind of, most of the money is external. We try to put it into the community where it's best needed. But I'm curious, when we have the ability to focus on crime prevention and public safety, there's small things with police and fire that, if they're in their budget, they haven't been increased for so long just because you want to put your money into the boots on the ground instead of other things. So, for example, their crime prevention, their neighborhood watch programs, paying for any of the crime prevention materials. I mean, that's expensive to have that printed and be able to give it out, but people love it when you are able to give them the crime prevention materials. Same with fire, how to keep your home safe, that kind of marketing materials. So I'm curious, internally, do we allow for our own police and fire to maybe apply for some of this grant money?
We do. We just have to make sure that they meet the requirements of HUD and to assist the LMI population. So if it fits within the guidelines, then absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Woody?
Chelsea, when Christie first got elected, she came swinging in to give more money to Meals on Wheels, and that just happens to be something I know about. And so my question is, does that go back more than a couple years, right? That we went to 10 grand?
We went from 5 to 10 last year.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And that was very generous and made a huge difference. But at the same time, it's been doing well. The extra 5's gone a long ways. And I appreciate it, Dan. I just, spread it around. The city does a lot for the senior center, and it's not always money, and the money has helped, especially coming through this program that works. And I'm a great believer that NRAP probably does the most because it actually helps an individual. It keeps somebody in their home. It upgrades their electricity, puts a new roof on their house. And those are very beneficial for people that don't have to maybe have Meals on Wheels.
Some of the same people, actually.
And, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, for $5 grand, maybe it can do something like Christie was talking about. I love the generosity. This is so weird, government money, $300 and some $1,000, and you're trying to spread it around and do good things, and I love that. And I'm just saying that Lake City Center's doing well. We have money in the bank. COVID money came. We were able to get a lot of people stepped up and just gave money and fixed things. We have all new kitchen, all new floors. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the support. And I don't speak for them. I just am one of them, And so anyway, I don't know if I said anything. God, Dan, I'm hanging out with you too much now, right?
That Dan, okay.
Well, part of what you said, though, and I think Dan English
Dan too, okay.
might have, I was going to say Dan 1 or Dan 2.
Yep.
In the comments that you talked about, Chelsea, basically one of the persons was saying, do a few things well rather than a lot of things poorly by trying to spread money to everything. And it may make you feel good, but it isn't doing a lot of good. So keep that in mind as you look at approving this motion.
It's a hearing.
Well, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to
Wait,
approve. Yeah.
It's a hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is a hearing, yes.
What?
You said that and I wasn't registering what you're saying,
It's
thank
a
you.
hearing.
Yes.
You are right.
I'm going to open the public hearing. I will note that nobody has signed up to testify. I will close the public hearing. Now, go ahead. Shoot,
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Annual Action Plan for Plan Year 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion,
Good job, Chelsea.
as if you haven't had enough.
As presented then, the original
Yep.
numbers. Yep, okay, so I'm good. What do you talk about?
Will the clerk take the roll, please?
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
McEvers.
Yes.
Guggen.
Yes.
Okay, we need an executive session to discuss acquisition of real property.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to enter executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206C to acquire interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
McEvers.
Yes.
Guggen.
Yep.
English.
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll adjourn to executive session.